AAA titles have dominated the market for years. Most people you ask, whether it be some dude's dad or a 13-year-old, will most likely told you that they've played some type of AAA title before. Indie games have been in the shadows for a long time, but recently they have been slowly emerging all over the place. The key difference between indie games and AAA titles are their budget. You would think when a game has a bigger team of developers and more money than you would ever see in your life that they would make the best games, but these advantages tend to be the downsides to making a genuinely good game. So, do indie games or AAA titles truly give players the best experience?
Hollow Knight versus Skyrim.
Skyrim is one of the highest grossing games of all time. Created by Bethesda with a budget of $85 million and a team of roughly 100 people, but to me it feels empty. I mean, don't get me wrong, when I was much younger, I played a lot of Skyrim, but I don't ever feel like I really loved the game. It has a massive open world with fun things to find in between sometimes, but generally, we're just kind of walking through an empty forest and fighting wolves over and over again. Skyrim was also extremely buggy, which was fun to mess around with, but always broke the immersion if you were trying to genuinely get yourself into its world. The main story is passing, but pretty typical with boring characters. Maybe the writers could have gone all out for a story that made a statement, but with a budget of $85 million, they had to make sure it was digestible to a very large audience so they could make that money back. The side content feels as if the writers came together and made something they were actually passionate about.
And I really enjoyed this part of Skyrim, I did, but
the main story just feels like everyone came together and played a really long game of telephone with the writing and voice actors, and it came out so extremely bland. Let's take Hollow Knight on the other hand. A game made by a much smaller team of 3 people. Team Cherry didn't have a budget like Skyrim. They kickstarted it and had a total of $57,000 to make their passion with. There was no voice acting, no hyper-realistic graphics. It was a simple 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania, and I believe it completely outclassed Skyrim in many ways. Exploring was meaningful. Team Cherry had no time or money to waste, so they had to make each and every room count, and this felt as if every room had some type of significance to it, whether it be introducing a new enemy, challenging your platforming skills, or hiding secrets of lore or upgrades. The story was not spoon-fed to the players either. It had to be discovered, making the journey feel so much more impactful as you're trying to put the pieces of this world together. Hollow Knight was very buggy at first launch, but was completely patched out, and now the only bugs left are the extremely charismatic and fun characters throughout the abandoned kingdom. I cannot remember a single name from Skyrim's characters right now, but I feel like I could name almost every damn character from Hollow Knight. I believe this is because of the tightness of the group of people who worked on the game. It gives the characters such a more personal feel, and I loved reading through the dialogue. Hollow Knight completely had me immersed, while Skyrim just felt boring. I didn't care to hear what people were saying, just blah blah blah. Okay, quest, cool fight, monsters in cave, grab thing, move on, and do that over and over. So overall, I believe Hollow Knight completely takes over this battle with its attention to detail and overall more meaningful gameplay.
Winner! Next up, Undertale versus Red Dead Redemption.
This might be a horrendous take, but it's how I feel. Red Dead 2 just could not keep my attention. I trudged through the incredibly long intro sequence and did a couple missions after, but I could not sit down and truly enjoy the story because the world surrounding it felt hollow, bloated, and boring. I could just play Euro Truck Simulator if I wanted to wander around for hours at a time. I'm sure the story of Red Dead 2 could have been worth it, but I simply didn't have the will to stick it out. Undertale, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. Made by basically completely one dude, Toby Fox, it stormed onto the scene, giving us one of the best damn RPG stories in recent memory. With engaging combat and having each room be its important part of the world and so many cute Easter eggs to find throughout, even if a room doesn't feel important to the story, Undertale just makes it fun to interact with each object, as Toby Fox's personality shines through everything, from the more complex side of characters to a living southern rock to a small little frog in the wall. Everything in Undertale has been utterly Toby Foxed. Undertale can engage the player with its story without completely boring them. There's a bunch of fun fights throughout all the different unique locations, unlike shooting the 345th bandit in some field somewhere. Making games this realistic makes them boring, especially when making them realistic just makes it so that you have to do things that are tedious. This type of stuff isn't fun to
do. I don't want to ride my horse to the next location all the time. Maybe here and there it's fun, but when these long open worlds are out there and I have to ride my horse all the way to a town, it's boring. It is.
Man, the bloating of AAA games just makes them feel so damn unapproachable. I can't spend hours of my time not having a good time on a game just so that I can follow this story that's supposed to be amazing. I feel like 90% of my time playing Red Dead was shitty filler dialogue and these stupid damn animations. When I kill 20 dudes, I just want all the items, but I do not want to watch Arthur Morgan bend down every single damn time just to waste 5 minutes looting each person's body. Why bother with wasting my precious time with this bullshit when Undertale respects my time so much more and still has such an impactful and unforgettable story? I really want to give Red Dead Redemption another shot. I have shit to do in my life, and it's going to take me hours to even get a small something from the game when I would rather just do something productive or fun. So in this fight, Undertale easily takes over for respecting a player's time and giving it an unforgettable experience. I'm so tired of AAA titles bloating their games like this. I'm tired of these forgettable storylines, and while I picked out a few I couldn't care for, despite the challenges of having to make more than their outrageous budgets, despite the challenges of keeping a story tight throughout around 100 crew members, some AAA games can still get it right. Spider-Man for the PS4 is an amazing example of a AAA game done right. A tight, short main mission, a very fun open world with hundreds of cool sights and collectibles, and one of the most important things, traversing that world is fun. So much more than riding a horse for 5 hours. You're zipping from rooftop to rooftop, taking a picture of the Empire State Building while kicking some dude in the face and picking up your lost backpack. And you would do all of this just trying to get to your next main objective, and a main objective that I always really wanted to get to because it was awesome. The story made me feel things. The developers of Spider-Man truly care about putting messages in their game, and it doesn't surprise me. Insomniac Games has proved in the past that they truly care about the player's experience and knows that if they do right by the loyal players, the game won't have to worry about not hitting its budget. They also kept the story so tight, it makes me feel like the excuse I made for the other games is all bullshit. They had a huge team of people working on Spider-Man, and it still told a story so strong it made me cry. Spider-Man isn't perfect per se, it still has some of those same errors the others do, but with the world being a bit too big and some general dialogue just being overall boring, they know exactly how to make up for it with the amazing traversal and beautiful main story. Side content wasn't perfect, but the main story was so good that I was happy with the side content just being side content. We can't excuse these AAA games that come out uninspired and boring. These companies are built to make a game that will suit the general populace so that they can make as much money as possible. But the bland results of titles by Bethesda with Fallout in Space or Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed 23 or the same repetitive formula Call of Duty follows every damn year is starting to get on my nerves, especially when other companies and much smaller teams are able to put out such heartfelt messages and fun gameplay. There's no excuse, and these companies are mostly here just to get your money and leave. Really, there is no such thing as AAA versus indie. You should be playing whatever games make you happy. But if you haven't given these smaller titles a chance, I really think you should. The heart and personality put into these smaller titles is something not seen very often. Plus, it's much easier on your pocket. But for now, I hope you have a great day, or night, or whatever.